I'm Evan DeWald, and I am joined by Tara Lindsley, and we are the voices behind the Unpacked podcast. On the Unpacked podcast, one of the things we love to do is talk about life and storytelling, and sometimes life gets messy and vulnerable and all those things. So we have conversations with counselors, with psychologists, with industry leaders, storytellers, and just regular humans that are making a difference in the world.
Yeah, and we're just hoping to grow and reflect and heal together. So you can find our podcast anywhere you subscribe to your podcasts. New episodes come out every Thursday. Enjoy.
Make sure to like and subscribe.
See you there.
Hey, Tara!
Hey!
How are you doing?
Good, we're together.
Oh my gosh, I missed you.
I know, I missed
This is
you.
Crazy.
You were alone.
Yeah, I got a little taste of solitary confinement.
And what'd you think?
I'm not a fan. No, I can see why it's punishment.
Yeah, COVID isolation isn't fun.
Yeah, it wasn't good. And I wasn't sick.
Right. Yeah, like you weren't even just like wanting to do nothing.
Yeah, if I had been sick and laying in bed and, watching Netflix for, 7 days, maybe that'd have been great. No, completely fine.
Yeah, just worked a lot.
So I just decided I was going to work my ass off until I have to go to sleep.
Well, you did get the yard all ready for us to hang out.
Yes, I totally did that. Kristen was thrilled. All the things around the yard outside got done. Except the Christmas lights. I didn't put them up.
Oh, I saw our neighbors did that, and Theo was like, do we have Christmas lights? And I was like, yeah. We got to talk to Ryan. We got to talk to Dad.
I have an idea. I might want to just get some new ones again.
Oh.
You can get the LED ones that change color, and you put them under your eaves, and you just stick them there, and they stay forever.
We need that.
Yeah, and you can hook them up to music.
Oh,
I'm like,
fun.
it's going to be good.
For our winter wonderland in your backyard.
Yes, I think it'd be really fun.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Are you going to get hay bales again for us?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, the ones that I have there are moldy.
Are they? Ew.
Yeah. But yes, I did get the whole backdrop done around the fireplace. There's no lights on it yet, but
We might need like a how-to or like a tour of this so people could build their own in their own backyards.
Yeah, Kijiji. You just go to Kijiji and you get free fence panels.
Well, you have to show them once we have it all set up because you and Kristen made it look so nice. Like it was so cozy with the lights and the hay bales and the fire.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
It was great because we hung outside like all winter.
Yeah, and actually I kind of like being outside now.
Yeah.
I know you're a huge fan of that, being cold outside.
I figured I am the most bundled up when I come over and I am good to go. I bring tea. I'm like ready.
Yeah.
It's cold though.
I drink tea out there too. There's other beverages that will warm you up way faster than tea.
Yes, well, I do both. You need both.
Exactly.
Anyways.
No, I'm looking forward to it.
It's
Halloween's coming.
That's right. Halloween's next week. What week are we in?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's coming. It's coming fast. It's Monday.
Yeah, on Monday. That'll be fun. Theo is very excited to go trick-or-treating with you. He already talked about it. So you're in.
So I'm going, I guess. Not a huge fan all the time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But I do like being outside and meeting my neighbors.
It's true. It is good for that. And also he doesn't Jude and Otto are going to have to dress up with him, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Hey, I'm excited about today's guests.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, we business life of husband and wife.
You got it.
I got it right that time. It was a bit of a two-trier.
Yeah.
Robyn and Clint. And yeah, they run a business out of Okotoks. And they've actually started a few businesses and kind of they're entrepreneur type people, and they have their own podcast, which we were on. Yeah, they're an interesting couple. They're going to share a little bit of their story with us. I got to tell you though, what happens in Vegas does not always stay in Vegas, Tara.
Yeah, we got a good story out of that.
Oh, there's a good story here. Yeah. And we shouldn't spoil it, should we?
No. But it's good. It's worth listening.
Anyways, they're awesome. Yeah, they're totally rookie enneagrammers.
Oh, yeah. They are newly interested in it because we went on their podcast to talk enneagram.
Yeah.
And then they couldn't not talk about the enneagram with us.
No, so we ended up talking about it on this episode a little bit. And also there's a couple of things in there. I was like, well, I think you should ask yourself this question or that question. And we kind of got into it for a bit. So it was fun.
Yeah, it was really cool. It's interesting to watch a couple, like I get to watch you and Kristen work together in businesses. So it's always interesting to watch couples who work together and who navigate it and who try to stay healthy in that for their employees and for each other.
Yeah. And it's not always that easy, right? And
No.
Yeah. You drive to, they drive to work together. We're in the same house all the time together now.
Yeah.
But yeah, they drive to work together, drive home from work. Yeah. They got some good rules.
Yeah.
They follow. Yeah.
And they're like truly together all day, basically.
Yeah. All day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then all evening and all those kind of things. So yeah, so I'm kind of looking forward to. I'm actually going to do some stuff with their company.
Yeah, some Enneagram stuff
with
with them.
Reese's Creek. So looking forward to that. So
It'll be really cool. And they have a cool studio, so you're going to have to take a picture because we didn't get to go in studio.
Yes, yeah, that's right. They have a little bunkhouse.
Yeah.
That they've renovated and should be pretty fun.
Yeah, you have a lot of pictures to take for me. You need to do a tour of the backyard and photos of the bunkhouse.
Yeah, I totally can do that.
Okay.
Oh man, I started doing videos for my Instagram on Recess Creek. I don't like doing that.
You don't like doing videos?
No, I shot my video yesterday. We posted it, whatever, this week of like, hi, I'm Troy McClure. You might remember me. No, I was just so bland and boring.
Yeah,
I
okay.
thought it was boring.
Well, if you think it's boring, then we got to change it up.
Well, no, then I did my own little music video afterwards just to
Much
spice
better.
it up because because I was like, oh man, people are gonna be left with that in their feed.
You need both. And honestly, I think we were texting about it because you also were mocking Ryan with your eggnog drink the other day when our power went out.
I was.
And then I suggested that you post it as a reel, and because we do growth and a little comedy.
Yeah, it's good to laugh.
Yeah.
It is good to laugh. You know, hidden secret. It was Ryan's eggnog.
Well, he knew.
Oh, he knew I definitely got text. Definitely. He's like, I gotta get over there.
It also was
Before
funny.
you drink all my eggnog, I was like, well, you can't come now. I got COVID.
He also immediately was like, he's going to either mix that drink with a pen or his finger.
Did he say that?
Yeah, before he watched it. Before he watched it. It was really funny. He knew.
Oh, to be known so well by your friends.
He was also annoyed, because we couldn't get at any of our stuff because we were trying to keep our fridge closed and everything because our power was out.
The absolute rules.
Well, they said it wasn't going to be on for like hours. So.
Anyways, fires in the winter. Mm-hmm. We're going to have some fun.
Halloween.
Yeah, we've got some fun. Our couples are all going for some fun too in Canmore.
Yeah, that's coming up too. We're going to have a fun couple weeks.
It's going to be a good couple of weeks for sure.
Good. Okay, no more COVID.
No more COVID.
Yeah, we have to have some fun.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Hey, we're glad that you decided to join us today. We always like it when you like, subscribe, share, like on all the platforms. And like, we don't mind if you like us on Facebook and on Instagram. We don't mind at all, right? We take all the likes.
We'll take it all.
All the little hearts or whatever you get. Yeah, take them. Hey, enjoyed this episode. And I hope that it inspires you to think about what you're capable of doing. Because definitely that's what these two are about. Mm-hmm. Enjoy. They're probably listening.
They can hear us. We should tell secrets.
We should talk secretly. Hey, I am thrilled to have these guests on, and we've been visitors on their podcast as well. We have Clint and Robyn of the
Business Life of Husband and Wife.
The Business Life of Husband and Wife podcast. Oh my gosh, you guys need to shorten that name. Too soon. You also own a company that actually makes you money, because we all know how money making podcasting is. Called Two Birds.
Yes. Two Birds Furniture.
Two Birds Furniture. Awesome. I follow you on Instagram. Boy, you make some beautiful stuff.
Mm-hmm. And they're pretty local.
Yeah. Okotoks.
Yeah, you can basically throw a rock and hit Chestermere.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, you got a good arm. You have a pretty good arm.
It's flat enough. You get there.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you guys on. And I'm kind of hoping I get the sense that this is going to be a fun conversation that could go just about anywhere. One of the things that we are trying to do on Unpacked is to hear people's stories. And we recognize that, like, as
as people's stories unfold, that there is these really awesome parts, there's these unpredictable parts, and there's things can get messy and all those kind of things. And I actually do work with my spouse in her business, and so when you're married and you work together and all those kind of things, there's all this extra stuff that's kind of going on too, I think. And so I'm kind of hoping that we can get a little bit into that. But before we do, can you tell us like just a little bit about you guys?
We've been married for, well, we're coming on, what are we doing, 9 years now?
That feels right.
Feels right.
We just passed 8 years.
2014.
We just had our anniversary.
See, this is why. This is good. There we go. So we're 8 years. So we've been together for 10.
10 years.
We've been married for 8. We've operated Two Birds for, is it 8 years? 9 years now. Because I think we did Two Birds before we got married. We started in a garage.
In 2013.
In 2013 in a townhouse in Cranston in a basement, like a 10 by 10 box. Like just building random things for people on the side here and there. We both had our other companies on the go. So yeah, we've been running Two Birds Furniture for 9 years now. Mm-hmm. When COVID hit and they kind of shut our front end down, because our company works for Two Birds is we have a wholesale and a manufacturing wholesale and a retail side. So we've got 3 parts to it. So they only shut down the retail side. So we still had our wholesale distributors for our home builders, and we still had our manufacturing side, which was shipping to different parts when it could. So what we did is we went from working like normal entrepreneurs, 80 hours a week, like crazy people, to, we're working like a regular 9-to-5 job because we can't, go, there's not enough to produce. There's not enough people ordering. Everyone's at home kind of hanging out. So we did a bunch of online stuff. We wrote a book. Okay. So we got together, me and Robyn, during COVID, and we sat down and we wrote a book. And that's what spawned Business Life of Husband and Wife.
And the podcast.
And the podcast came after. It wasn't even on the radar. The book was just a bucket list item. Hey, we're kind of bored because we kind of both are squirrely if we get stuck in doing the same thing for too long. Right? So we both were like, all right, let's do this. So the book came out
November of last year.
Yeah, November of last year. And actually through Two Birds, one of our clients was getting, we have a procurement side of our business where we actually tear around barns and architectural salvage. And we were doing her old, just south of Calgary, by Sirocco Golf Club. They've got a big new development. So there's a farm that was annexed there that we actually were taking buildings down for the client. And she's like, do you want this bunkhouse? And so for people who don't know what a bunkhouse is, old cowboys and farmers used to take a bunk cart and a cook cart and they'd haul it out to the field 10 miles or whatever. It wasn't very far, but far enough that you weren't coming home every night from the field when you're cabin. And they'd take these bunk carts and they'd sleep in them and they'd cook out of them and it'd be a crew out there. So she gave us a bunk cart, original 1908 bunkhouse. And of course I said yes. I'm like, heck yes.
Fortunately, also the town said yes.
Yeah, I said yes before we got permission to even bring it here.
Awesome.
Before we got approval. And we didn't know what to do with it. It was going to be a tiny home, whatever. And we had this book and this other business sitting there kind of waiting to develop into something. Mm-hmm. So we took 3 months. We renovated the bunkhouse. We researched and asked a lot of questions on what gear to buy and how to retrofit this into like a rentable, usable space for not just us, but for others. And we launched the podcast, Business Life of Husband and Wife.
Okay.
Yeah, that's busy.
That is busy. Okay, so tell us a little bit. So you're running your furniture company. Oh, actually, no, let's do the story. We gotta hear
I was
it. Okay,
like, so they teased us out for us when we met them.
Yeah, we got to hear it. So you have a unique way. It feels unique to me. It feels bizarre to me, actually. But how'd you guys meet?
Accidentally through the universe.
We just met in a really odd location. So I went down for a friend's wedding in Vegas in 2012, and Clint was down doing some international firefighter training down in
Texas,
Laredo,
Texas. Yeah.
He was on his way home and stopped with a friend in Vegas. And what do 24-year-old guys do? They go and they crash weddings. So they ended up at the wedding that I was at. And we ended up chatting and all that kind of stuff. We ended up felt that we had a connection. And then we ended up being from the same place, which is rare. So then we didn't quite exchange phone numbers.
She's not even giving you all the story though. Like the first time I'm sitting at the roulette table, right? I'm 24. I'm like, I don't really care right now. I'm in Vegas. I just want to have a drink and spend some money. And I'm sitting there, I'm not thinking about anything. All of a sudden I get a tap, tap, tap on my right shoulder. She's got pink pumps on and a black onesie. She's like, "Hi, I'm Robyn. Do you want to be friends?" With a bottle of champagne. So that's how, like, let's start there.
A true Vegas introduction.
That's good. I like it.
Okay, so Robyn, you were the aggressor then. All right, that's interesting.
I can be a touch assertive.
A touch.
I love it.
Yeah, so that's the story. I ended up going to the wedding that she was at, and
I was the maid of honor.
She was the maid of honor. We ended up getting margarita clocks at 3 a.m. It was a long weekend of just us hanging out and getting to know. Yeah, it was Vegas. And then we came home, went on our first date.
And we actually liked each other still.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
That's so cool.
So you had no idea when you tapped on his shoulder that he was from Calgary?
No idea.
No, I was just some random stranger.
Hi. I can be quite friendly.
So both grew up in Calgary?
My parents immigrated to Canada in the late 70s
Okay.
from the UK, from northern UK to Winnipeg in the winter.
Of course. Yeah.
It was like a massive culture shock for them. And then we moved to actually Okotoks, so just south of Calgary in like the early 80s. And then I've essentially been here ever since. Went to school in Okotoks, grew up, went to university, all that kind of jazz. And then Clint.
I'm a mutt.
Definitely mutt. Moved around a little bit more than me.
My parents have run like 3 of the largest ranches in Alberta. Like, it's just kind of like, so the Yahatinda is a place that people know northwest of Sundre. Grew up there as a kid. Dad breaking horses for Parks Canada that was his job. So for the backcountry, from there we moved to he worked for Mannix's, not for the Polo Club, but down towards Canmore. We're out there towards Springbank. Then he went to the Bar U, which is the historic site southwest of Longview. So it's a National Historic Site, and that ranch used to go from the border to Cochrane, right? Before it was subdivided into all different parcels. So Dad has been involved with Parks Canada and all these big government ranches. So I moved around as a kid about 6 or 7 times to these different big honking places. And so I'm a bit of a mutt. I kind of grew up, but I ended up going to high school in High River and then graduating there 2006 to U of L, and I took my accounting. So I actually have a business degree from U of L with a minor in international business that I did at I went to university in Holland for a semester and got my minor, and then I wound up going down to Laredo, Texas to do my firefighting at 24. Yeah, to meet my wife.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I wanted to do with my university degree, because there's a lot of younger people, like, you just go to school and you're not really sure what you're supposed to be doing with your life. I knew I was going to always be in business, because I started my first company at 16 doing custom acreage fencing for people. And I've only ever had one job in my whole life, and it was just so I could eat during university. And I worked at Home Depot. So I've always had my own company. So every summer I'd go back and I'd launch my company again, and I'd make enough money to pretty much get by throughout university. And so I had that company when we met, when I came back from university, or from firefighting. I was going to go into firefighting, but I'm not, personality wise, I'm not the best at structure and listening to hierarchy. So yeah, we ended up getting together and starting our company from there, because it wasn't a fit for me. It just didn't work for my brain. That's
probably a good observation, actually. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I definitely got from you as I've listened to your podcast and just gotten to get to know you a bit, and you've kind of alluded to it, is a real passion for business. So, and I always find that fascinating, because there are business owners who are passionate about what they're doing, what they're making, what they're like, whatever it is, what they're producing. And then there are people who are just passionate about business. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of curious to know, like, what is it about running a business? Like, you've said this in our last conversation too, you're like, I've run multiple businesses. So I get the impression that you've got a passion for running business. And I'm assuming that's not just about making money. I'm assuming that's about all the ins and outs of kind of how it operates. Would that be accurate, or?
What do you think for you? Don't judge on me. You go first.
No, I think my very first taste of entrepreneurship was actually when I was 12. So my dad took my brother and I into a local ATB branch, and we took out a very first loan, and we purchased 6 cows with this loan. So we spent, I don't remember how many months, but like feeding the cows, nurturing them, blah, blah, blah. And then we actually took them to market and sold them. And like, we made a small profit at 12. So this was like my first taste of like what it was all entailed in that whole experience of like being able to control everything essentially. So after that first experience, I went to school and I actually became a equine sports therapist. So, which is, it's
horse chiropractor.
Horse chiropractor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So traveled around a lot in my 20s. It was super fun. So I really got to experience the freedom that an entrepreneur can have. So, and then once I did that and once we met and everything, I realized that I wanted to create something of scale. So us starting Two Birds and basically just getting into the whole nitty gritty has really inspired me to, I love I find it really exciting, actually, the whole process of everything and figuring things out and not knowing anything. And I really enjoy the not knowing part because I love to learn. So
Robyn, do you get into like, is the process of putting it all together the exciting part? Like learning all about the process? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like learning things that I don't know. Like, which is so many things.
Yeah. Well,
in the business aspect and the people aspect and the product aspect and the behind the scenes, like there's so many moving parts that I love that.
Yeah. It's like make a plan, work a plan, that kind of stuff is exciting.
Did the plan work?
Yeah. 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 Oh, that's awesome.
I don't know. For me, I never really thought about it because I've always business was about how do I get where I want to be. And where I want to be, and at each level is different. So when I was 18, it was like, hell yeah, like I want money. I want to make money. I don't want to be broke when I go back to school. I don't want to be, and I think a lot of it comes back to like as a kid, like what was imprinted, like we talked about that is for me, we were broke when I was a kid. Like I wasn't able to go play hockey.
You also lived in the middle of
nowhere. We lived
in
the middle of nowhere, so we weren't able to have, but it's not like they were making like, cowboys don't make a lot of money. That's just the reality of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you come into money, right? And you're really, really, really good at what you do in the rodeo circuit, but you don't make a lot of money working for other people in that field of work. So we just never had a lot of money. I remember like trying out and going to Springbank as a rude awakening. Like if people know the area, like when you're like a rural kid and you're playing goal your first time and your pads are falling apart on the ice, right? Because you couldn't afford brand new goalie pads, but everyone else has got brand new spanky stuff. So I think for me, it was just like an imprinted like embarrassment or whatever it was. And like from till the time I was about 28, it's all about money. How can I make the most money, the most efficiently? How can I reinvest it? How can I get a house? Can I this is just like a status thing. And the last 5-6 years since we got Two Birds, like to a point where we're making money and things are like going like the way we want to, and we're expanding and we're learning about ourselves and personal development, it doesn't matter anymore. I'm more interested in learning from somebody else what they're up to and how they're doing things and how they can be, what do you want to do? Do you want to make money or do you want to buy a house or what's your life goal? That's more interesting to me now than it is like just absolutely like working myself to the bone to make money. So but I've always loved business. I don't know why. It's always been in my uncle had a company when I was a kid and maybe that was imprinted too. Like he was in a stair and railing in Calgary. We founded and sold the company, and then he just buys and sells and develops houses now for a living. So I don't know. I think it's just something I've learned more or less is like operate businesses so because I don't want to be broke.
And you don't want people telling you what to do.
Well, I'm not good at that either.
You have me laughing because that may have been said of me before. Don't like that guy does not like being told what to do.
The like surefire way to get Evan not to do something is to tell him to do it.
Yeah. Like, well, yeah.
Or tell me I can't do something and just outright.
That is the other way of getting me going. Absolutely.
That works for both of us as well.
Yeah, it works for both of us quite well. Just say the opposite of what you need done, and usually the opposite gets done. It's like, why?
Yeah, why?
Why? But I think that answers your question. I think for business wise, it's a transition, and I'm sure in 6-7 years, depending where we're at, it's going to be a whole nother something new that I'm learning. Because I call myself a bit of a malcontent.
Yeah, it's true.
I get bored really quickly, and it's like something that I have to really stop and tell myself, like, being bored is actually probably a good thing for a while because it allows you to maybe be a little bit calmer in your thoughts. So you're not scatterbrained running around trying to chase the next next level all the time.
Focus on the fundamentals,
well,
maybe.
Yeah, focus on the fundamentals. Yeah, something I'm learning, something I'm working on, and like just work on the little stuff so you can get better at the bigger things.
I'm curious then, what brought you guys together to work together? Like, what you said there was a business you had started already when Robyn came into the picture, but then how did you take us through that process?
So that was a company that I had when I was 17, and it was just my horse brand. It was X over Y Industries, and I had it for 6-7 years just in the summers. It was just a summer. It was just for doing acreage development and building fences and things like that. And it was very seasonal, right? And so I kind of transitioned that from, do I want to work in the winter and be cold all the time, to we just sold the business into Two Birds. But Robyn and I were already, she had her company, which was it was basically a solo venture, right?
Yeah.
But for me, my parents have worked together my entire life. I've always seen it. I've never seen anything else, right? They're on a farm. Mom and dad are out there moving cows. Mom and dad are out there, feeding the horses. They're plowing snow together. They're doing the garden. Whatever it is out there we were doing, it was all these together. So I grew up seeing it. I didn't see the other side. It was always like, well, yeah, mom's mad today and they're not talking in the house. But when you get to where they're working,
you'd never know.
You'd never know. And then they'd come home and they wouldn't talk for a little while, and then they'd sort it out and they'd be good to go.
Yeah.
They were really good at that. Was one of the best lessons I ever learned, is like, when we walk in this door, when we're working, and our guys, they don't need to know that we're having a bit of a
tiff,
having an argument at home about something that usually is like not opening and closing the cupboards 100% correctly. That's my bad.
I might be guilty of that.
Right?
It's so funny. You literally just named something that Tara does at home and drives her husband crazy.
He's given up on me on that. Actually, my son is 3.5 and just goes behind me now and closes things behind me. It's pretty funny. So yeah, I was like, I don't even notice I'm doing it.
Neither does Clint.
I don't.
Neither does Clint.
Yeah, there's lots of funny stories along that we can get, where you can just irritate your spouse at the home front. But so I think for me that's how that started, is I just grew up with it. So to me, it was always like, well, I'm looking for somebody who wants to, one, work like a crazy person for X amount of time so that we can do some fun stuff when we get a little bit older. That was just kind of how it was.
And then me with my business, I was just experiencing limitations of being a sole proprietor and being by myself. So I wanted to be able to grow. So that's why I was open to it. And I was also in a business where there was a lot of travel involved. And as I was getting into my 30s, I didn't want to do that anymore. Like, it was fun in my 20s traveling all over North America, but I didn't want to anymore. So it was a simple transition for me.
And it has occurred to me that, so your dad was a horse, like he was a cowboy.
Farrier.
Yeah. And Robyn, you were totally into doing horse stuff. So you've got some things in common there, obviously.
Yeah, there was a lot of like intro things in common, and like operating businesses in common. And I mean, granted, there was transition periods where, right? Like, it's not like, oh yeah, we just like started a business.
He said awkwardly. Hey, so you segued into it. So now we get to go there. What are some of the things you've learned about business, about yourselves? Like, one of the things we talk about on Unpacked is that, like, we do believe that real life can get messy, and that comes with mistakes. It comes with errors. It comes with fixing some of those errors. It comes with all of that kind of stuff. And so I'm assuming, but both in business and also maybe in your marriage, maybe you can answer both. Like, what have been some of the real challenges around, like, any mistakes in business that you're like, everyone needs to know this thing? Every business owner, I'm starting a business right now. Tara runs her own already. What's the piece of advice you give?
I can give you one piece of advice that we started 4 or 5 years ago, and it's called the 10% rule. And 10% of every single dollar you make, it doesn't matter what it is, $1, $10. So we'll just do it in $1. So if you have $1, you take 10 cents and you put it in another account that you do not touch for an entire year. When you think about how much revenue you make in a year, and it doesn't, so you can't budget with that. You can't. So if you're doing your budgeting, you say, hey, we're going to make $1 million this year. It's $100,000 that's going to be in an account for you in case you miss payroll, you mess up something CPP-wise.
There's another pandemic.
There's another pandemic, and you need to not use the government money, because it's a real good way to get audited. If you take that money, you can use your own funds. It's self-financing to expansion. All that stuff, you just put it away. So then you're operating at 90% of what you got, and that other 10, that's something saved our bacon a couple times. For sure, especially when we've moved shops, because you're paying 2 rents. So when you're moving or expanding, you're always paying the last of your lease off. So that bill's a double whammy for a few months. So there's things that you use that fund for. And to me, that's a big one.
Yeah, that was a big one for us.
That was the biggest like transition in us starting to like realize how to like grow our business is if you don't have the money to grow it and buy the equipment, you can't grow. So then you go into the bank and you're paying interest and all this stuff. So if you can kind of bank it for a few years, then you can use that nest egg to start expanding.
Yeah. That's awesome advice.
That's our favorite one.
That is our favorite.
Yeah. My biggest hurdle is a combination.
Your biggest hurdle? Okay.
It was. Yeah. Thank you. Was learning the communication separation and just learning how to communicate what I needed at certain points and learning how to respect his communication for certain triggers or certain stressors. Because I have a tendency that when things get stressful, I can ignore certain things. When Clint would need some space, I would push and vice versa. So for me, that was the biggest thing, learning when to push and when to back off and when to inspire and when to walk away.
For us too, is the separating the work and the home, because that's tricky because you always drag it home with you and you want to have like for other couples, like when you come home, you want to tell each other about your day. Great. Well, I just spent 10 hours with you knowing all about your day. I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, about your day.
For an hour. Like I was there for the whole time. Like I need 10 minutes or 20 minutes of like, I just don't care today. Like I just wanted to unwind. So for me, that's how it worked. Like I know about your day. And when we cross that threshold at home, I don't really, unless we're like really working on growth strategies and like something super productive to move the needle forward in the business, I don't want to talk about business anymore. I'm done.
Yeah, we're very separate.
So that was something that we had to work on because I'm also a different person when I'm working versus when I'm at home.
Yeah.
Oh, do tell.
Yeah, I was going to say, talk about that more.
So well, when I come in, there's a right. Well, when I have like a switch that I think I just learned it from my mom or my dad. Like it's
your
just
mom.
From mom, 100%. It's a switch though. Yeah. Like I can instantly just switch it off. But when I'm at work and I have there's something you'll see on our podcast and you'll see on posts that I make. I'm not your friend between 9 and 5 is one of my rules. I call it. I'm here for your I'm either your business partner, your boss, your colleague, whatever. That is what we are between 9 and 5. After that is when the other side, my empathetic side, I'll come help you take down. Like, for example, this weekend, one of the guys working for us had an incident with a shed that was too big when he was selling his house and we had to take it down for him. But he was having a bit of a moment and he wanted to leave early. And I'm like, just stay with me, finish what we got to do. Let's execute till 5 and I will take, and we went and took this shed down in a matter of a few hours with more hands than he had when he didn't. That's for me. Like, I'm going to shut it off. Like, I'll come help you anytime, weekends, whatever. But that 9 and 5, that little 8 hour, we have to execute at a high level to grow, that we're working. In a relationship, sometimes that's a hard switch to turn off and on from like, hey, you're my wife, and like a little bit different conversation than, hey, you're my business partner and we have things to accomplish.
Yeah.
But which is also why like we've been very mindful of, we schedule like meetings and stuff. So we'll schedule a meeting for like first thing on a Monday morning. We'll organize everything. So we're very mindful about when we plan different things. So we do the same thing for our personal life as well. We're just very mindful of when we start planning stuff. So it's very clear on when we're taking care of everything, because my brain really needs to know when things are happening.
And we also take care, like we have another thing we do is we take a vacation with no phones once a year. It's just usually us two and maybe a couple other people, but it's usually mostly just us two. Like we've hiked the West Coast Trail, 7 days out hiking. All you have to do is walk. And that's something that has helped us tons. We've done the Chilkoot Trail in Alaska. We did the Gold Rush Trail. We did the Great Glen canoe trip in Scotland this year. So you're on the water for 5 days in the UK.
Just paddle.
That's it. That's all you have to do. Paddle straight. Without fighting. It's not hard. It can be.
Without getting the other one wet.
All sorts of factors. But so that is something that we've really worked on to like be better together and still work on it, still like each other after 10 years of together. We're literally with each other 7 days a week. all the time. Like there's not very many days that we're not working together.
Yeah, and actually, like our guests can't see you or won't be able to see you, but you actually do look like you still get along. So it's saying something about.
I haven't got hit yet, though.
Yeah, did you?
That is funny. How did you learn this stuff? Because you have a ton of knowledge and a ton of wisdom about like how you've learned along the way. Like, were you making mistakes? Did you go to counseling? Were you reading books? Like, what brought you to the point where you can spend that much time together? Or do you both take separate time too, away from each other? Like, how do you manage all of that? And where did you learn it?
I was going to say
trial and error.
100%. Just to 100%. See what works for us, because we both have different ways to decompress.
True. Yeah.
So I need to do something physical. So when I was in like the horse world, I would go ride every day, and that was just like my me time. Whereas now unfortunately I don't have a horse right now. So I go into the gym every single day. That's my me time. Like, don't talk to me. Don't come in there. Just 1 hour. Just 1 hour. Leave me alone. So that's what I do every day in order to continue with Clint all the time. And
she's not even telling you why, because in the book there's a story about 2 dueling hamsters apparently that I have.
This is your story.
So I have like 2 people up there talking all the time, and they never stop. They're always coming up with ideas. So one gets off the treadmill, and the next one gets on, and that's Robyn's little theory about me. So sometimes she has to shut me off.
Because my brain really appreciates quiet and like self-reflection, that type of thing. So sometimes when these squirrels are just swirling over here, I need to just remove myself. You just deal with them. But at the end of the day, like, it's just the trial and error in learning what you need to stay your healthiest. Like when we first started, like, the type of stress that I went through, like dealing with like being like sole proprietor, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just me. It's no big deal. Going into like a business and managing other people, it was so much stress for me that I actually started nighttime stress vomiting. So, and this would happen like consistently every night for a while until I really learned how to deal with these stress triggers and stuff. So
we had lots of long conversations, like intentional conversations about why this is happening. Yeah. Why do you feel like this? And I don't know what it is. Like, I always have done that with myself. Like, why are you so dumb today? Like, it's not nice sometimes when I say it. Like, why am I doing this? Like, I look at myself and like, why are you being so stupid right now? And then I go back and I like actually reverse engineer my why I'm being dumb today and figure out, okay, so this is what I did wrong. I've always done that, even as a little kid.
So, Robyn, you've got my interest though here on this. So, how did you come to?
Stress vomiting?
Yes, stress vomiting. Definitely. Let's go back to the puking. No, I am curious to know. So, when you look back at it now, because I'm assuming you're not doing that anymore.
No, that hasn't happened in like 8 years.
I am so curious about. Was that about? I feel like I'm going to fail. Was that like I'm so stressed I'm going to not get this done? Like, what was it?
It was just stress of the unknown and not knowing what to do. And my personality is always like to know what's happening. And this was just something that I didn't know. I didn't know what was going to happen. We were just on this ride, and here we go. I'm trying to figure everything out, and I was getting overwhelmed. And I have a tendency that when I either get like overwhelmed or frustrated, that's when my body has either like releases tears or vomit. So this is just
these two things. So something is coming out of you. That's what you're saying.
So, and I had to deal with, but like my stress management now is like, it's so high. I'm happy to deal with like all the stress.
I think you just get better at it.
Yeah.
You've just developed a harder skin, a thicker skin, because like initially, like your heart was on your sleeve with your company. You're like, man, like I'm building this. I'm like, this is really, and then once you realize that your corporation or whatever you're building is just an entity, it's not really a person. It doesn't have emotions. It doesn't have feelings. People have feelings towards it that you need to cater to, but the entity itself isn't that important. It's what you're doing to make that entity important for other people. That was the big one that we had to learn.
Yeah,
it's fascinating, right? Yeah, I even in my coaching stuff, when I talk to business owners and particularly business owners that started their business, I would assume, even I feel that way a little bit about Recess Creek a little bit, right? But it's like I could assume that would be actually very hard to separate that, because it is like your child, it's your dream, it's your vision, and absolutely it's taken so much of your time, your energy, your stress. He's taking supper. We should not be making fun of your anxiety.
I know. I was like, this is not funny.
It's not usually
No,
my deal,
totally
but
is
it's
funny.
old enough now. It's 8 years ago, Tara.
But now that you learn, you develop. It's kind of humorous.
It's hilarious.
Because you think about it, you're like, why was this why was it, right? You went back and you're like, really?
Why was I stressful?
But like a fear of failure is for sure in there, because you do not like failing.
I don't fail.
No, you don't, right? She like has this thing, like that was the big one.
Yeah.
You were afraid that we were gonna go bankrupt. And to me, I'm like, well, I got in 7 years, I'll just get more money. Like that's just right. I'm like, all right, well, I screw up today. I have 7 years of figuring it out again, and then I'll start something else. Right. Now I don't have that same tie to a business, because like I said, I separated it right away. It's an entity that I really love what it is, but I love the business and the building that it's going to do for the people outside of what I'm doing. Because I have multiple ones that I'm working on. Yeah. So they're all separate entities providing value to separate people.
And I'm assuming though for you, Clint, that's easy to like just logically separate those two things.
There's no gray zone in that one. There's gray in everything in the world. I understand it, but it's black and white for the business versus me, like, and the people. Like there's just lines in it. There's gray niche and nuance areas in that for sure. But yeah, no, I can separate it. I'm just like, oh, okay.
So for your business doesn't define your identity.
No, but I did have a good hard lesson about that the other day. We had a podcast guest on named Angela Bradford. If you get a chance, look her up at Real Angela Bradford, and she came on and she has such an interesting story. Truck driver, diagnosed with MS, into on a personal growth side and how she approaches that, and just
it's wild. And like in a matter of 6 years,
her identity was like, we were talking, it was like, oh, we're the same. Was I can outwork you. You won't beat me. I will friggin' outwork you to the death to prove a point.
Yeah.
Not a good thing.
No, her body said no.
Your body shuts down. And I've had some things where I was like, oh, that's not ideal. Like I'm starting to wear out and I'm going to have to start going to maintenance. And
so this is time. Can we do enneagram stuff?
Sure.
Okay.
Go.
Okay. So I've been listening a little bit to you guys as you've talked. I know that you did an online test, and I'm going to challenge the test. All right. So Robyn, let's pick on you for a second.
Okay.
I think that one of the things that I would say about online tests is they can be helpful to start narrowing down the field, okay, of kind of what does it look like, or what's happening here. And I was listening, I heard this a while ago, and it's like sometimes it's helpful to think that you have all the types in you. They're all there. It's like a house. Right? You guys do construction. It's like a house. All the rooms are there, but you have one room that you gravitate towards the most. And that's kind of how you can see your Enneagram type playing out, is that there's one room that you're gravitating towards. But so there's a type out there. And the particular type really is actually about achieving things. They know how to make a plan, and they know how to work a plan, and they find great joy in doing that. And they can help other people do that, and they can help themselves do that. It's just an absolute gift. Mm-hmm. It's an absolute gift. And I think that they also, most people in this type, they have a lot of emotion, but they don't actually understand the emotion they're having. It's kind of weird. They're actually they're over in the heart triad. So they do have emotions. They just often can't name them in the moment, but they know they're having feelings. And those kind of things. And those things drive them. In a lot of ways, this is one of the types that is actually pretty image conscious. They want to be seen as a success. They want to be seen as a person that's achieved and accomplished some significant things. And when those things are, shaky, it can create a lot of anxiety. And you've kind of named a couple of those things. And I like, we can get back to the puking part if we want, but we can leave that sit too. But I think that like one of the great gifts that they give the world is their capacity to see a process and how a process could work and work towards the betterment of even a group of people. And they can do that in their own life, but they can also do it in other people's lives. That they're planners, typically. They kind of go at what they want and what they think is needed and for everything. And so they are achievers. And that actually is what they're called. They're the 3 on the Enneagram, called the achiever. And I'm just pushing back a little. Like, I'm not pushing back. I know what test you did. and I know what you got. And it's like, if I was encouraging you to learn more about yourself, I would read about the 3 and all the good gifts that it brings. And I think it's part of the reason why you're able to work with your husband.
What are you saying? Come on, Evan, let's go.
All right, good. Let's look at Clint for a second. So I got some questions for you.
Transition.
Yeah.
Oh, and I would say too, if you read it and you're like, ooh, that's
Then
probably
you. Then
it.
it's you.
Just because you often hear your type, like the worst parts of your type, and it's harder to like. They'll explain all the gifts, but you'll see the negative first.
Well, even just like everything Evan was saying there, I'm like, yeah. Extra, yeah.
It actually makes you perfect to run a business.
It really does.
Yeah. And so, and I definitely, we can see that in you. And, we've had a few conversations. So I didn't just base this was not just based on what our listeners just heard, but actually on our pre-interviews and our other podcasts and some of the other stuff. So Clint, I got a question for you. Do you ever feel like you're getting like, there's a lot of opportunity out there, and choosing one feels a little bit like you're being trapped? Yeah.
Every day. It's something I work at every day. I'm like malcontent. I told you that. Right? We said at the beginning, I have that tendency in my brain where I'm just it's malcontent, I would say, just with life. I'm like, I'm bored.
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah. There's always something that you want to kind of go for next.
Yeah. I want to go do something new.
Yeah.
And then I only get really kind of partially good at it. And then I go do something new.
Yeah.
Or your wife goes, no.
And she drags me back.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Sometimes you kind of need that, right? How do you feel about like difficult and painful things, like experiencing emotional pain? Or is that something that you can actually feel, or is that something you can just acknowledge that you have it and then you can move on?
Yeah, I can acknowledge it, but it's like, all right, move on.
Yeah.
You got stuff to do. You can't sit there and wallow in your sorrows.
Yeah. So when you feel like there's a season of pain that's coming, do you feel like it's time to try something completely new and different and learn something new or experience something new?
No, I just hunker down and buckle in harder what I'm going after.
Oh.
Like I'll tell you guys a kind of a little bit sad story, but a story like during COVID, both my grandfathers died within like 2 days of each other. We were on the way to one funeral, got a phone call. We're going to the next one. And it hit the family harder. But for me, it was like, shit, well, at least they're not in a bad situation, stuck in a home anymore, because they didn't like being there. And, okay, fine. So for me, it was like, all right. And we went there, we did a funeral tour. We did 4 days. We were back at work and let's go. Like it just was
back to work.
You don't take time to let it sink in, right? You're all right, I'm gonna deal with it in that moment, and then when that moment's over, we're done. Yeah.
So one of the types that I'm kind of digging around here, one of the things that they typically do is they have a tendency to reframe pain. So it's like when something difficult is happening, they try to find the silver lining or put this spin that's less painful on it. So, and in a way, you kind of, I'm
trying to think if I do that.
Yeah. Well, it actually, I think it takes a lot of time to really think about that and reflect upon that. But I would say, if I was coaching you right now, I would say, well, actually, you just did. You lost your 2 grandpas within 2 days, and you reframed it into but they were living in a, right? And so that's one of those kind of interesting kind of dynamics that takes place for this particular type, who doesn't like to be told what to do, who has an endless amount of capacity to dream. And in fact, almost, and I can say this because I am this number, almost dreams to avoid some of the difficult things. It's like, well, I'll just go into my dream world and I'll dream up something new and how I would make it happen. And I think that this particular number, it is the 7 actually. And I find myself doing this quite often, actually, when things are difficult. I'll dream about a vacation, or I'll dream about the next fun thing that I can look forward to. And in fact, it's one of the advice I give 7s is, you know what, as you're finishing up that vacation, that dreamy vacation that you were hoping to go on, you should probably start thinking about the next one so that you have something to look forward to and plan for and think about. Because there are these moments, right, when the mundane of life can make us feel a little bit trapped. And it's the 7. It may not be 100% you, and you may have some other things that are kind of going on, but it's something to think about. I am a 7, so I do. When it comes to 7, I do know what I'm talking about. Absolutely. And here's what's unique about this for the two of you. If I, there's an orientation to time and the way that we understand our type. And so there are 3 numbers that have an orientation towards the past, 3 numbers that have an orientation towards the present, and 3 numbers that have an orientation to the future. And it plays out different for each number, but essentially it is where their attention goes when it comes to orientation to time. So I can give you a little spiel on it, but
so is 3 like in the present and 7's in the future? Am I right on that?
No, actually, you are both future oriented people.
Present's kind of hard to, maybe you could explain present a little bit, because I'm present oriented and I find that people don't understand the present very well.
Yeah, I think that so if I was to explain it, I would go, okay, so we can do the past oriented people. So the 9, the 5, and the 4 are past oriented. They reflect a great deal on past experiences that they hope will inform their future. Present oriented people they're just a little bit more in tune with what's happening in the actual present moment and how it's affecting, oftentimes how it's affecting them. So that's the 1, the 2, and the 6. When Tara's a 2, when she has an emotion, she's having it. Is that fair?
Yeah. Like, it's also like, I can look to the future and I can look to the past, but I'm comfortable being in the present. Like, I'm fine to just be here right now. And I'm not really thinking, like, it's pretty easy for me to shut off my brain about like what the next thing I have to do is.
And then the others, was that a good enough description? Mm-hmm. And then the futurists are the 7, 8 and the 3. And they are actually people who oftentimes will find themselves dreaming about the future in order to avoid the present. And I say avoid. That sounds negative. It's not always that. But I would say even for my wife and I, like sometimes, things are difficult. Life is stressful in the moment, all those kind of things. And we'll find ourselves sitting in the hot tub at night going, what if we became, farmers? Let's just dream around being farmers. We'll get a little house in the prairies and right, like, or whatever. And we're not farmers. I grew up on a farm, but it is kind of more like that in tune to it. Of course, you can be present in the present moment. Of course you can. And of course you can remember past experiences, but the detail and the way in which your attention goes is really future oriented people or future people. So you can dream. And in the cool kind of part about it is like, Clint, if you are a 7, you can dream. And it doesn't even need to be something you care about. It just give you a couple of facts about something and be like, hey, let's just dream up some shit here, and you can dream it. Right? And get excited about it.
Brainstorm with the best of you.
Yeah, and get I'd probably walk away feeling very excited about what got dreamed up.
What that person's doing or what they're doing. Oh yeah, I get quite excited. So it does make sense.
My guess would be, Robyn, you can do that too. You can dream. But when you start dreaming, you go, how could we make this happen?
100%. And even like with his dreams, sometimes I can get frustrated because he says all these dreams and instantly my brain's like, how do we do this? We need to start today. And then he's just like, no, I was just talking.
So Tara, you got to work with the 7. You got to work with me for a while, and I was a leader of an organization. What was your rule?
Oh yeah, you have to say it 3 times for it to be real, or I do anything about it.
That's good.
That is a good rule.
I actually agree with that.
Yeah,
I actually agree with that 100% because if I say something once, like in my head, it's just a thought, it's just an idea.
It's driving by.
But if I've thought about it more than once and all of a sudden it's twice, 3, 4, and I'm starting to think about it and then I start saying it more, Robyn already knows. She's like, well, he's doing this.
Yeah. And look out. And look out, it's happening.
It might be best to just get on board.
Yeah, exactly. I'm also the make it happen like mindset. So when we're dreaming, it's good for me to be like, okay, well, I can dream, but I can think about how to make it happen. Like that's where my brain goes, but we don't have to do everything. And also I get to pick and choose what we do then.
Yeah, she gets to be an actual charge. Yeah. Anyways, those are just a couple of observations. You may not be those types, but if I was to encourage you to read, I some of our wrap up questions are just like, wait, we're kind of, I am finding myself asking this question a lot. And it's like, what is it that you're curious about? What are you learning these days? Like, or what are you hoping to be learning about?
You go first, because I'm thinking.
As a couple, we're both on the personal growth, personal development train right now. So we're both learning things that we didn't even think about previously, whether it's with you guys in the enneagram and like looking inwards, whether it's looking outwards at our people that are working with us and bringing our team closer and how to like be better leaders. We're really working on, so we're working on leadership. We are working on leadership and how to be better people outwards. Right?
Because at the end of the day, the business is a reflection of its leaders. So if anything goes wrong in the business, it's on us.
Yeah, we didn't perform. We didn't showcase how we want things done. We didn't, execute, give enough information, whatever it might be. And learning all this stuff is actually benefiting us hugely right now. Yeah. Really in the last 18 months is when we started, and the growth we've seen in our business, like we're 40% since last year and just in revenue, just based on changing our mindset with how we deal with our people and deal with people in general.
Awesome. I love that.
I think that's the biggest one that like working on. And as a couple, I think for me, it's just like making sure we still like each other, like, hey, checking in on each other, like, making sure that we take time to have that. We always say we make time to have very intentional conversations.
Yeah.
So if there's something that's pissing you off, we're not going to wait 10 days and sit there and pretend that we're not talking. No, we're going to talk this out right now. And that's something that we're constantly working on to make sure that we don't leave something out there that's
unsaid, undone, anything that was
resentment that leads to resentment. Anything that leads to resentment, it's like, that's not worth it.
I love it.
From that.
That's what we're working on right now. Like our focus is leadership and personal growth right now, because at the end of the day, like Clint said, it's really impacted our business in such a beneficial way. So we're not stopping.
And is that about creating an environment for your employees that you're passionate about them enjoying? And also I had a question that just made me think of, do you have a division of labor, or how did you decide on your roles, or is everything kind of equal? Like
who does what?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
But I care about the culture and then also.
Start with the first question. So everybody that comes in here now, the onboarding is very different than standard companies, because I'm not a huge corporate guy, right? So I don't like that corporate onboarding. You get your manual, you get your HR plan and all that. Go ahead and read it, but it's not, I don't really care if you do or not, as long as you can be nice to each other, like we're fine. But for us, it's almost trial by fire. Like, I know you have the skill set when you come in because you said you did. You just don't know how we build our product, that we could make things in the back. Once you've been here long enough, you'd be like, hey, I see this is going on. I need this fixed. Let's figure out financially how we fix it, or if we fix it in-house, or if we need another person to hire it out. We kind of just make them more leaders. We're building them to be the leaders so that we can, how do I put it? We're building them to be leaders.
And then they give us suggestions into the business, because at the end of the day, like,
spurs thought in their brain for them to be like, hey, well, what if we
what
do
about this? What about this? Like, it's amazing. So it's just become like this massive team effort to help grow this business, and it helps keep our team passionate about everything.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then what was your second question?
Just about your roles.
So in our book, Business Life, Husband, Wife, we do have the separation point, we call it. And so initially, like, that was a hard thing for us to do, was to separate our roles, because like you're trying to, who do your staff go to for each thing? Because they think they have two bosses when really they don't. They've got one who runs one side of the business and one who runs the other side. And we had to clearly define those roles. And it took some time.
Yes.
It literally took some time to like develop who goes, where do you go? Like, if I have a problem in the manufacturing procurement, you come to me, right? Or business development side, you come and see me. If we have a problem in like the client side, sales, marketing, design, that goes into Robyn's funnel. So we had to figure out where we kind of funneled and who did what better.
I would assume, like, what you added on, you didn't say this, but I'm assuming then you have to trust each other to do your part.
Yep.
Do your job.
Yeah.
And do it well.
And do it well.
I love it.
So that, I think that one is like, but we also have a 45-minute commute.
Yeah.
So we actually, during our day-to-day, we have a separation point when, like we talked about beginning, when we go to work, we are at work. We go home, we're at home. So that transition, we have a 42-minute conversation on the way to home about what happened during the day, and we have 42 minutes on the way in about what we're planning to do for that day.
Okay.
So that commute is we actually execute and utilize that time instead of just sitting there listening to music and kind of, being tired and whatever you're doing, or you don't want to talk. That time there is when you do that.
Hey, this was really great.
Yeah.
Can you, before we, as we get ready to sign off, can you tell us a little bit about your book? What's it called? Where can people get it? Some of those kind of things.
The book is called Business Life of Husband and Wife, and you can find it on Chapters Indigo, Amazon, Frisian Press, Barnes and Noble.
Like all the majors.
Just Google
Amazon,
it.
All the big ones.
You
can pick up a copy. Like if you want to go to a store, all the Indigos in Calgary and Chapters have it.
Cool.
So you can go into the business development side, and the book is there.
It's in there.
The last one I saw was beside Simon Sinek's books, and I was like, yes, we're doing something right.
There you go. There you go. Awesome.
So essentially the book is just, it's about our experience about running a business together, and it has like our secrets not secrets, it's our process of how we determined who has strengths in what areas, who has weaknesses, what we need to work on, that type of thing, how we separate stuff. The whole role and relationship from my perspective, the whole role and stuff from Clint's perspective. So you just kind of get like the whole dynamic of how we run our business together and how we live together and how we manage to still really like each other.
It all comes down to macro versus micro. Work on the micro, and the macro is better.
Yeah. The fundamentals, Clint.
Yeah, the fundamentals.
Hey, this was absolutely awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we're so grateful you guys, it's coming into evening.
Yeah.
We're grateful you're about to do your 42-minute drive, so we should let you get away. But thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time and your wisdom and some of the things that you're learning. And as a coach, I got to just tell you, man, keep growing. It's absolutely worth it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
guys.
thanks, guys. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I always love coming on.
All right, we'll let you guys get home and
Awesome.
yep. Okay.
Guys.
Talk to you later.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for joining us. We'd love if you take a moment to rate, subscribe, and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Again, thanks for listening.